Hey everybody, it's 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and that means it's time for Chopping It Up here on Crazy Country 105.9. My name is Keith Saarloos, and I'm going to do a little plug for myself. You can usually find me most days over at Saarloos & Sons, right on Grand Avenue in Los Olivos, where we make 100% estate wine. But today we are going to be talking to one of my favorite people in the world, one of the most interesting women in the world, Chaplain Linda Palmer. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing beautiful on a beautiful day.
So I ran into you over at the Good Seed Coffee Shop,
yes.
And they're like, you have got to talk to this woman. And I like to use that place kind of as our test bed for people that interesting and unique and exciting people that need to be on this show. And when you walked in, we had a great conversation, and within 2 minutes, you were telling me about 10 different lives that you've lived, and I wanted to introduce you to the rest of the valley.
Oh, cool. Well, like I say, a few folks know me. I've got some roots here.
Yeah.
For a long time, when I'd say my name is Linda Palmer, they'd go, which one? Are you the Los Olivos ones? No.
That's what I asked.
Yeah, I am Mayor Ken Palmer of Solvang, and until recently, until my dad's been gone now about 3 years, I was Ken's kid in the valley.
Got it.
Now I'm Trolley Linda, because everybody sees me on the weekends on the trolley.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love this valley, and I'm so blessed to have worked for about 8 years at the Elverhoy Museum. Mm-hmm. So that's our history museum here in Solvang. Also helped Esther Jacobson Bates, who was our executive director, helped her write the definitive book about Solvang called The Spirit of Solvang. Ooh. So I am deeply steeped in the history. And so when the Arona family called and said, would you like to help us out for some tours? And I said, yeah, why not? Well, it was a year ago. So when these people come from all over the world, we get to tell them the history of our valley, which is so amazing.
Okay. Where do you want to start here? Where do you want to start? So did you grow up in the valley?
No, I grew up in another valley. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, but back in the very much dark ages when Highway 101, the freeway, stopped at Universal Studios. Mm-hmm. That you took Ventura all the way to where it dead ended, and that's where I grew up, on Woodlake Boulevard, where Ventura Boulevard stopped.
So Ventura Highway in the sun,
literally.
Right there.
Yeah. So like I say, it was the hotbed of everything. You know, when you see the original Three Dog Nighter in the local little club, and sings, I have the distinction of hung out with the Electric Prunes.
Oh.
Yeah. So back in the valley, and then I went off to college. My parents moved to get away from the big city creeping into the valley to get back to the valley. So they moved up here. And I've been here twice. I went to school. I am a civil engineer and an environmental-chemical engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, so then I'll show you some pictures later if you want to see me at work. And after I graduated, I was big-time environmentalist and everything, and so I went to work for an oil company. Went to work for Chevron because you need to walk the talk. So I started working on offshore oil platforms, built several of them, traveled all over the country building refineries and things as an engineer. And then my last engineering job is, for good or for worse, I helped build the Gaviota oil and gas plant that sits right there. And I have the distinction of having named Mariposa de la Reina as the overpass. So that was one of my perks of building the facility. Unfortunately, never turned on, and they were about to ship me back to headquarters where I'd sit on my derriere reading probably rules and regulations and attending meetings, and I liked being out and about. And about that time, I met a retired race car driver. And we went...
I'm just... by the way, I am just sitting back enjoying every piece of this.
So
keep going.
Yeah, so we're hanging out, and we try to decide where do we want to go. Do we want to go... let Chevron, send me off to San Francisco, and we do something else? And he says, I've always thought about going back to racing. And I went, okay. And so we started doing professional drag racing, went all over the world, was in Japan twice, trophies up to... and had a great time. And unfortunately, my ex now was a Vietnam vet. And when 9/11 happened, like a lot of the Vietnam vets, lost it.
Yeah.
And so we left this area. We moved to Nevada because the VA in California is beyond redemption. It's, I won't say 4-letter words, but that's what they deserve.
Appreciate it.
So we moved to Henderson, Nevada, which has an amazing program. And so we lived there for a while. But unfortunately, when somebody has PTSD, which leads into my chaplaincy, the person who's around them when they begin to start to spiral becomes one of the triggers. And so it was very evident and very common in my peer group of the other spouses, male and female, that if your ex is triggered when you are in the vicinity, you become a pre-trigger. I also picked up what's called shadow PTSD, because for self-defense, we begin looking for the triggers first. We get triggered to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it became very obvious that this was not going to work. And one of my cohorts did end up getting killed by her husband.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it became like, okay, so, lesser of two evils, so to speak. He's now happily married to another lady.
Glad to hear it.
So doing well over in Las Vegas. We share a beautiful son, 2 grandsons, and I have 3 great-grands.
Okay. Yeah. So you just blasted right through that in 5 minutes. So
yeah. Well, and then as I started doing things, my mom died. My dad needed somebody. His housekeeper moved in. She got sick. He's going, come on, you're not doing anything. Come on back. Moved back here to the Valley. And my dad has the distinction of having been the mayor here in Solvang 3 times. And he was the mayor at the time that the Elverhoy Museum was created. So he says, well, just go talk to Esther and just go down and volunteer. Get out of the house. I don't want you hanging around so much. And fell in love with the history of the town, fell in love with the Elverhoy, spent 8 years there. And it's like, well, maybe it's time to move on, do something else. And that was when I finally had the opportunity to walk into being a community chaplain. And because one of the things that was so important at the VA in Las Vegas was working with the chaplains there. And realizing that if you do not have a firm grounding in your purpose, whatever religion or whatever, if you do not have an internal fixed purpose, everything else just falls apart. As long as you can go back to a foundation, the way the chaplains taught us. And so then I became a community chaplain. My big thing is outer safety, inner purpose, inner resilience. And so that's what most of the folks around here know me from, either being on the trolley, spouting off about Solvang, or tweaking people to get their together and start looking after themselves, because it will happen. It's not an if, it's a when. And I can spout statistics all day long, but it's people need to kind of stop and go what I call the still point. And if you can take a deep breath in all your situations and go, okay, does this work? Am I someplace where I can move forward from this? Where, again, my ex didn't have a still point, and because he was just so spun up. Now he does. He was able to get back in with some veterans groups and some stuff. So inner resilience or inner purpose, then you can build the outer preparation. You can build the outer safety.
Can you talk a little bit more about what a still point is?
That is, well, if you want to get into hardcore meditation, all that stuff, or you there are all these physical techniques that we teach where if you are in a really stressful situation, take it to the extreme. Just tighten everything up, tighten up your hands, just everything, and then go, just let it all release, and you'll all of a sudden feel everything drain. When you get to the bottom of that, that's the still point. That's when you can then say, oh, okay, I need to think about this. I don't need to react. So nice thing about the human body is you can go from extremes. So you can be super tense or super relaxed, which you want to be somewhere in the middle, which is the still place. You don't want to be comatose, but you also don't want to be so amped up that you can't make sense.
Right.
So if you can, with things that I've taught, is you can literally feel what it feels to be like tense, because most people don't know they're tense. They don't know their shoulders are up above their ears. They don't.
How do I look right now?
You're cool.
Okay.
You're cool.
Good,
you chill.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah. So you can literally read people and start watching the little things. You can watch their, blink rate go up. You can watch their shoulders come up. You can watch their fingers kind of curl up. And then you can tell them, okay, let's take it to extreme so you can recognize it. And then I'm going to tell you to blow it all out. And then you go, oh, wow. So the human body doesn't know if it doesn't experience. And I can talk all day long about swimming or riding a bike, but you won't know it until you do it. And so that's what taking to someone an extreme like intention will do. When they finally physically choose to relax it, then they go, oh, that's what it's supposed to feel like.
Got it.
Yeah, so when I've been in, Good Seed and with Layla and Brad, like I say, practically live there. You can ask Chelsea. You know, it's the cheers for me as I walk in, and
it's the
like
Valley's living room.
Yeah, everybody goes, "Hey, Miss Linda," and if I don't speak fast enough, my drink is already made. You may have noticed when I was standing there before we even finished talking, it was in my hand.
Yep.
I hadn't even made it to the cash register yet. Same with Chomp Coffee. Amber sees me coming, she starts plating things, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay.
So I didn't mean to derail you with that thing.
No.
So you went from racing all the way through. When we were talking, you talk about a Kindle.
Yes. When I was living with my ex in Las Vegas, I needed to get out of the house. I needed to have something to do. I'm one of those people who's perpetually retiring and then 3 months later unretiring.
Yeah.
And so just about then I am what's known as an early adopter. I love toys. If they're electronic, even better. If they're very loud and go fast, that's good too. So when the first e-reader came out, and this was Barnes & Noble's Nook, I bought one and I'm playing with it, and then I realized they did not develop their own device. Kindle from Amazon built it from the ground up. Nook did something very clever. They bought the Samsung basically tablet, and then they put a wrapper of Nook around it.
Got it.
So I found that out, and I went, oh, that's easy. So I unwrapped it. So
you hacked it.
I hacked it. And so I was sitting in a Barnes & Noble in Henderson doing some stuff, and, you know, the store manager wanders by, looks over, and it's like, gives me a thumbs up, like, for having a Nook.
Yeah.
And then he gets about 2 steps, and he looks back, and he walks back, and he says, what the did you do to it? And I told him, well, it's really this, and you can unwrap it. And he said, would you like to work here? So spent about 3 years there because it was in the very early days. We're talking 2010.
Yeah.
I started helping people learn how to use the Nook. One of the things that was lovely, people who are losing their sight, the feature in an ebook reader where you can make the letters as big as you want to make them. You put a whole word on the whole screen. Also, the early days, you could have it read it to you. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people with macular degeneration and other things were coming in.
Or dyslexia, like me. Yep.
Well, and then I got to be called, my nickname in the store was Grandma Geek. Because, you know, had the lovely gray hair we have.
I see it.
And I was somewhere in the back of the store in one of my fan club, as they were getting to be called, because they were always coming back with their device saying, can you fix this? And somebody says, oh, well, I don't want the kid, because the other rep, you know, was a typical goth with the nose ring and the everything and the black hair and they were a little scary. And so they said, no, I want the geeky grandma.
Yep.
And so over the PA, they go, will Grandma Geek please report to the Nook counter? And so for about the next couple of years, that was my job, was to be Grandma Geek.
Amazing.
And part of that is getting content. And there was, again, early adopter. Writing an ebook is so easy.
Very easy. Surprisingly so.
And it's getting a little more complex with Kindle changing things and whatever. And now there's options and other things you can do, and self-publishing and micro books. And I still play and dabble around the edges of that. But it was such a fun thing to watch people take a tool and do something with it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been where I come from, which is, all right, if you're going to complain about, and I went to school in the early 70s, where, you know, there was a lot of big, you know, the hippy-dippy 60s that turned into the let's burn down the bank 70s. We burned down our Bank of America at my college, I felt you needed to do something with it.
Yes.
You if you're going to complain about it, get your ass in gear and go do it.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up out on an oil platform building pollution control devices, building treatment plants, doing air pollution control, you know, walk the talk. If I'm going to, if we want to, and there's no alternative at this point. I'd love to have a Tesla, but I don't live in a situation where I can recharge it.
Got it.
So there's a practical side to every decision.
Yeah.
And so from there, like I say, I'm a field person. I like to go out and get dirty. That's
you are dynamic.
Thank you. Like I say, it's easy when you know, if you're in like I say, alignment, you can use some woo-woo words with what's going on. There is so much in this world. There's so many things we can do, some of which we have skill for. I was a Harley mama. I had a soft tail back in the day.
Yep.
When we get to know each other better, I'll show you my tattoos.
This is magnificent. Keep going. Keep going. I love
Anyway,
every
I
minute
would
of this.
love to continue to do that, but as they say, the bill comes due, and just being radio, you can't see, but I can't close my hands anymore, so there's no way I'm grabbing a throttle and a handful. So you turn that energy and that passion into what you can do. And I'll show you a picture later. I was one of the first CERT teams, the Community Emergency Response Team, in the reconstituted valley. And so I have a picture out on the fire line with, Stedmuff and all of these firefighters. And then there's Linda. And then there's all these firefighters. I'm about probably 1.5 feet shorter than anyone. But I'm there as a chaplain. I'm there to remind people there's more than the emergency. Mm-hmm. And also being here on the radio, I was blessed that Crazy invited me to come over and talk about things that are called like listos, which in Spanish means ready. And there's a program in Greater Santa Barbara County called Aware and Prepare, where we teach people just teeny tiny basics to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And then there's the CERT, which is like it's the kind of Uber volunteer. You actually go out and can do real firefighting things under an instant commander. There's real things you go do if you're so inclined. Mm-hmm. But all of that rolls back to my being a first responder chaplain, which is there's all these little things you can do to protect yourself, protect your community. And one of those, my pet thing, is, like I say, inner purpose. If you know who you are and what you are, and then that takes you to being able to be ready, outer readiness, or outer preparedness, or outer safety, whatever you want to say. Because we have so many wonderful things here that if you don't embrace them and use them and do something with them, you're going to lose them. Mm-hmm. And I don't want people to lose anything because this place is amazing.
It is. Well, I'm just sitting back listening. This is so right now we're on listening to Crazy Country on 105.9 with Chaplain Linda Palmer. And one of the things I wanted to, you gave me about 1 billion things to talk about. I mean, what would you like? Do you want to talk about Solvang? Because you being on the trolley,
yes,
right? I think since this is a local, like this, the reason this station exists is this is one of the very last local stations in California, right? And I think it's something that we need to not only support by supporting, ads and things like that, but also listen to, because so much now is pumped in from 1 million miles away. It has very little to do with the community itself. And this radio station is all community.
Right.
And with you and giving those tours, give us some background on the history of Solvang.
Well, Solvang is a pretty unique place, obviously, because it was founded by Danes and for Danes. And the originals, I tell people on the trolley, one of the big secrets is we did not look Danish at all until 1947. That's when it started. Most people think that a bunch of Danes showed up and started building the cute little beans for calf timber buildings. No, they wanted to be modern and sophisticated like Santa Barbara.
Sure.
So as you roll through town, you'll see some of these cute little 1930s Tudor-style houses. You'll see on the corner of 2nd and Oak, this like what they call a British country cottage, very popular down in L.A., parts of L.A., because that's what the Danes want to do, to be, fit in and be sophisticated like L.A.
Sure.
Well, then after World War II, especially a young man named Ray Poske, good local Danish boy.
Great name.
He goes to fight World War II. He ends up in a prison camp. Well, he never left the valley. He swam in the Pacific Ocean. He grew up here. He had no clue what Europe looked like. He really didn't know what Denmark looked like. So after the war, he's right there. So he goes to the old country, check up on, Momo and Fafa, Grandma and Grandpa, and sees what it looks like finally. So he comes back, and this is literally in the minutes of what was called the Solvang Businessmen's Organization, which is now the Chamber of Commerce. We literally have it in their minutes. And a shout out to Tracy Beard, who let me look at all this history, that says, look, we speak Danish, we are heritage Danish, but we do not look like Denmark. So he and one of his friends, Ferd Sorensen, everybody knows about Sir Ferd, start building down on Alisal little buildings in the business district that look kind of Danish. And then Danes are very competitive, and soon everybody's trying to out-Danish each other. And the downtown district slowly begins looking a little more and more like little Denmark. Well, then, and so over the next 20 years, it's looking kind of cute, and people kind of know that maybe this is a good tourist thing. Well, you're not quite as old as I am, but We were not really a tourist town. People stopped, but not really, until a thing happened in 1967. Do you know what that was?
No.
Highway 101 went through Buellton.
That's right.
Because going north from LA or coming south from San Francisco, you went through Lompoc. You went on Highway 1. You did not go this way. There was no big wide pit stop. Well, anybody ever wonders why Avenue of the Flags was like 4 lanes wide in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
It's because they knew the freeway was coming, and so they thought it would be like Santa Barbara. Because back when I was driving, you went along literally the coast right there, and there were stop signs and red lights. And so they assumed that's exactly how they would do it. We're out in the middle of nowhere in the country. Yeah, you're just going to send it right downtown, put our businesses right there, get the 4 lanes and the signals already. And then Caltrans did them a dirty and put in the overpass.
Yeah, they basically did like the movie Cars,
Yeah.
right? They're like the highway, everything's ready to go. One of my favorite things I learned not so long ago when Pea Soup Anderson's was open, when they were paving the 101 from San Francisco south and then from San Diego north, I guess, the pavement came together in Buellton.
Yeah.
That's like the where they would put in the golden spike.
Yeah,
if you
when
will.
I was when I was a kid, because we used to come up here, I do have roots that go all the way back to my grandfather, who had the Quaker State Oil account. Is the farthest north from LA he went through Santa Barbara County. This was as far as he went. So if you look at the old pictures of the Lundy the Chevron station on the corner of Alisal and what's now Mission, the one that sat on a 45-degree angle, cute little Mission Revival, that was my grandpa's Quaker State account. So again, I go way back.
Yeah.
I didn't live here, but I was always in and out of here. And I remember when you got to the top of the hill on Highway 101-ish, you would turn onto Nahoe Falls Road, come in the back way on Alisal, and the first gas station you saw was Lundy Chevron.
So if you're talking about, people are driving over the 101 or 1, and they would take that back road in through Alisal.
Yep.
Really?
And the tunnel. I mean, a lot of people don't know that.
Big deal.
Yeah, that was the late 1950s.
Okay.
So you were taking kind of the right-hand lane going south. That was both north and southbound.
Got it.
So a lot of things had to happen to be accessible here. So nobody just went by here until the early 70s, and that's when we boomed.
No trains.
Yeah, dead-ended there in Los Olivos.
That's correct.
And that's how our founders ended up here. Is they're coming down the coast from San Francisco looking for land on the West Coast. They went up to Oregon. They came, too wet, too cold, to Lake Denmark. They came down this way, and when the train dead-ended there at Maddie's Tavern, they got off, looked around, and went, whoa, Solvang, sunny fields.
Yep.
Because they showed up here in January.
And it was just like today.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous and green.
Awesome.
Yeah, so they got suckered on the green part a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. But so they came back a year later, and literally yesterday, that's the anniversary.
Is it really?
Yeah. January 12th.
Got it.
They actually bought 8,800 and some change, I just say 8,900 acres surrounding Mission San Ynez. And that's how it started.
Really?
Yeah. So this was and they had a choice, which again goes back to the history of the town. The train stopped here, and to get to Santa Gaviota to take the train south, you had to wait.
Yep.
And so the Danes had a choice. They went back down. They went down to LA. They got on a train and looked. But there was also 2 big factors. Okay, you're either going to be in like Santa Barbara County, Orange County. Well, there's only one port. That's the port then of LA.
Right.
Also, if you were going back to Elkhorn, Iowa, which is where they were all kind of congregating in the 1890s, 1900s, you would go south through Texas and Arizona. If you were on this side of the 154, if you were on this side of Maddie's Tavern, you went north and you went basically I-80, you went back to Elkhorn, Iowa from San Francisco. A lot cooler. And these guys are farmers and they're shipping stuff. They do not want to ship it on hot weather. Plus, there's more ports going north. So you had basically Stockton, you had San Francisco, you had Oakland, you had San Luis Obispo. So they made a very good business decision.
What a tactical decision that built Solvang.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the things about Danes. They are very good business people.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, and this was also founded as a Danish-American colony corporation. You could buy stock, or you could buy land, or you could buy both. And the first land, besides the 3 founders that was purchased, the gentleman never came here. It was an investment property.
Right.
So that just shows you how Solvang started. And a lot of people, as I go through and point out things, all right, the house on 2nd Street, the big white house that's across from the burned water wheel building, that was Professor Hirnschild, one of the 3 founders. And the house is supposedly haunted because he died in the bathtub there. So it's on the haunted ghost tour.
The ghost tour.
Yeah. So, and the Reverend Gregerson's home sits right next to Brecky's.
Yeah.
And across from the park. And a lot of people don't know, the first thing the Danes built, if you want to call it building, is they took the blank piece of paper because there was nothing here. There's a great picture on Facebook today from the Elverhoy looking from the bridge over the San Ynez River. They're slightly up on the hill by Alisal Ranch looking back down, and there's nothing. There's like 2 oak trees, maybe.
Really?
Yeah. So they literally had to do everything from scratch. So it's kind of fun to look at the house and realize that. So on the piece of paper that has nothing on it but the mission, they put a big X in the middle, and that's where they put Solvang Park. And they also designed the park. It's not an American park. There's no swing, no slides, no merry-go-round thingy. It's the gathering place for the town. So the Danes set it up from the get-go. That's where you do everything as a town.
Which they still do.
They still do. Same thing with Atterdag. Originally started as the folk school, then turned into a hotel, back to something else. Then it became the Lutheran home. Then it became the Atterdag. So it's amazing how all these things just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. And little things like a lot of people don't know, again, from working there, the Elverhoy, a lot of the buildings in Solvang that go back to the 1940s and 50s have bricks from Mission Santa Ynez built into them.
Really?
Because when the Danes got here, the mission was a mess. It was, and the bell tower was really bad. It had been damaged in an earthquake. So the Danes helped them rebuild the bell tower. The original bell tower had 2 bells. This one has 3. And all the bricks that were in that bell tower were just tossed in the back of the field there at the mission. And so people in town used them. And so one of the guys who used the most of them was Viggo Brandt Eriksson, who built the Elverhoy. But if you know where to look, you can find all the old bricks from the mission. So the mission, not only is it incorporated into the middle of town, its physicality is built into the town. So there's so many roots here. And, quote, the old Danes who, still want to do things, and then all the carpetbaggers who show up and think they know Solvang, or who want to make us modern, who don't understand what we offer. And it's one of the things I love about the trolley. I would say probably, if not 2, maybe 3 times a day, I'll hear somebody on the trolley say, I'm bringing my kids or my grandkids back, or they'll remember having seen, where's this windmill? And I'll be able to say, yeah, it's right there. Now, what's inside may not be what you remember, but I got to hand it to the design review committee that overlooks all the Danishness inside the village area to maintain what makes us unique.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of like your stuff. Everybody has to have a story. You have what's called fancy marketing, as you know. It's called the unique selling proposition, your USP.
Okay.
So the USP for the town of Solvang is it's a small country town. It's very walkable. It's very safe. And there's some really interesting, cool things around here.
So we have 2 minutes. I have a couple of questions, but I know we'll never get. How many windmills are there still in Solvang?
5, 7 if you count ones that are on the outlying.
Okay.
So we have the big White Puska windmill, which was built by Ray Puska on the corner of Alisal and Mole right there by the post office. Then there is the one that's next to, I remember, is the Danish Smorgasbord restaurant.
Right.
Then there's a little one in front of the Hudson. Yeah. And then there's like one more. Well, there's obviously the one at Frieden's Big Canyon, so that's 4. Where's number 5?
Is it down there below the mission by the bank?
Yes, that's that was Ferd Sorensen's. That was his wife's she shed.
Really?
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, so if you really get into the history, if you go to like the Elverhoy, and again, being there, especially during COVID when they were closed, I got to open every cupboard, pull out everything from the attic. We found stuff that we had no idea they had. And it's so amazing. And then again, when I hear, I will be polite and say carpetbaggers show up in town and think they're going to make us more cute, more charming, more different, or more modern or whatever. It's like, don't mess with the unique selling proposition, dude.
Sure.
Give us what makes us us.
Chaplain Linda Palmer. I I need to have you back on this.
Anytime.
You need to be, or I just want to have one. I'll tell you what, I'll give you plenty of time, but I would love to hear a run-on sentence all about Solvang for about a half hour.
That's easy. Like I say, small pitch for the overhaul.
Yes.
If anybody really wants to know the hardcore story, again, the Story of Solvang, their book that we helped write.
Yeah.
That is there are pictures in there that families donated. It's amazing.
Awesome.
Also, in the back of the Overhoy is a diorama of the town from the 1920s.
Yep.
And literally, I used to go in there and just smile because the little model of the Lundy Chevron station has my grandpa's little Quaker State oil sign on it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so things like, where Bit of Denmark is as the original Etterdeg School, and then this building and that building and the Danya Hall and all these things. Yeah, so there's so much depth here that people need to understand and protect because that's what makes it special. And it goes back to me, which is everybody has something that makes them special. Sometimes I just have to work a little harder to get past all the stuff.
Well, you have become officially my favorite chaplain I've ever talked to. I had to say five words this whole episode. I am absolutely enthralled, and I think everybody who's listening,
using my hands and banging the mic around.
No, you did fantastic. Fantastic. That was Chaplain Linda Palmer, and what a resource you are.
Well, thank you. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, I have a website. It's chaplainlindap.com. It's just, fill in and ask me questions. I teach safety classes. I teach meditation. I helped out at the Chamber of Commerce for a little while because of all the stuff I know. And we're looking at helping small businesses, especially the businesses that want to turn it over to the next generation, plan and put things together so that whole interaction, that whole family dynamic that makes us unique survives.
You are a human resource. I swear, this is. I'm so glad you came on, and I definitely want to have you come on
anytime.
We could pick one of the 6 different things you just brought up. It's fantastic. So you've been listening to Chopping It Up with Keith Saarloos. We hit 30 minutes today. Way to go, Keith. We did a great job. I just want to say thank you for giving me your time. You are a vast book of knowledge, and we need to download you. We do, and we need to record it and put it up for posterity. So this has been Keith Saarloos and Chaplain Linda Palmer on Chopping It Up on 105.9. Back to your regularly scheduled program.